Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our live coverage of another SpaceX Starlink mission from Vandenberg Space Force Base, Space Launch Complex 4 East. We are awaiting for a Falcon 9 liftoff at 2:39 p.m. Eastern Time on 14th May from California. The Starlink 8-7 will launch 20 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit, including 13 with direct-to-cell capabilities, dedicated to building out its Starlink broadband mega constellation. This launch marks SpaceX's 345th launch overall. Hello, my name is Deepto Moitra. I will be performing the commentary for today's mission launch. We are happy to be here with you today, bringing you the coverage of SpaceX's 51st launch just of this year. The launch of a batch of 20 Starlink satellites for SpaceX. This will be the 35th dedicated Starlink mission of this year for SpaceX. Prior to today's launch, SpaceX has launched 768 Starlink satellites so far, just over 34 flights, and over 6,416 Starlink satellites to date. Since all of our launch coverages are solo shows, so please bear with us if we encounter any technical difficulties. However, we are committed to guiding you seamlessly through the Falcon 9 rocket launch to the best of our ability, which will be coming up in few minutes. So far, SpaceX reports that the weather is looking great for today's Falcon 9 launch opportunity and the range is ready to support. But the weather at Vandenberg is a little cloudy, but I think that won't be having any issue towards the launch. We have a very low probability of violation and high favorable outlook. We hope that SpaceX will be launch Falcon 9 on time and not have to push too far. But if for some reason we do not launch today, we do have an additional opportunity tomorrow, that is Wednesday, May 15, with launch window opening at 9:06 a.m. Pacific time, that is 12:06 p.m. Eastern Time. We would like to welcome Shane Howell. Also, maybe Billy Hunt is with us till now, and our old dear friend, Confession at 3 a.m. Thank you all for visiting us, joining us live today. Now let's learn about our very own Falcon 9 in details. Falcon 9 that's supporting today's mission is the world's first orbital class rocket. Orbital class reusables two-stage rocket which is 70-meter tall and 3.7-meter wide, designed for reliable and safe transportation of satellites, cargo and people into Earth orbit and beyond. At the very top of the rocket is the payload fairing, made of a carbon composite material with a height of 13.1 meter and 15.2 meter in diameter. The fairing is a protective shell that houses all of the spacecraft and shields them from aerodynamic heating and mechanical stresses that happens as we ride through the Earth's atmosphere. The aerodynamic shape of the fairing also contributes to Falcon 9's overall efficiency, reducing drag as we accelerate through the lower part of the Earth's atmosphere. But once we get to the vacuum of space, those two fairing halves separate, exposing the payloads within, and those fairing halves will fall back to Earth where SpaceX recover them to be refurbished and reused on future flights. In case of a crewed or cargo mission, the payload fairing is replaced with Dragon spacecraft. Dragon is capable of carrying up to 7 people and cargo in the spacecraft's pressurized section or both together. In addition, Dragon can carry cargo in spacecraft unpressurized trunk, which can also accommodate secondary payloads. Now here is a short video of a fairing separation test conducted by SpaceX at NASA Glenn Plum Brook Station, which offers the world's largest vacuum chamber. This video is being slowed down as because this payload separation it occurs at nearly 10 times faster than the speed of sound. Isn't that incredible? So coming back to our Falcon 9, right below the fairing we got our second stage that has a single molded vacuum engine or MVAC engine which can produce 981 kilonewton of thrust, and that will ignite shortly after stage separation to take the payload to their target orbits. Also, it can be restarted multiple times to place multiple payloads into different orbits as we saw in our rideshare missions. It will be fired twice on today's flight. Furthermore, it will ignite a third time after the deployment of the Starlink satellites for a deorbit burn to drive the upper stage back into atmosphere where it will burn up to help eliminate the risk of any unnecessary space debris. It is a modified Merlin engine only, equipped with large nozzle which is optimized for burns in the vacuum of space, which can produce slightly more than 0.22 million pounds of thrust, and the MVAC engine burns the same propellant mist as the first stage, that is kerosene, that is the rocket grade RP1, and liquid oxygen. Confession at 3 a.m. Yes, indeed, it's super fast because it's a rocket. Everything happens here is super fast, and each second counts. Anyways, mm, now we have our interstage. Just below the second stage, we got the interstage. Interstage is a composite structure consisting of an aluminum honeycomb core which is surrounded by carbon fiber, where we have the Merlin vacuum nozzle, and the interstage is what connects two stages. Interstage also houses the center pusher mechanism that separates the first and second stages around 2.5 minutes into flight. It consists of deployable hypersonic grid fins, which are titanium winglets that provide orientation and stability for Falcon 9 as it comes back through the atmosphere. Located at the upper part of the inner stage are three mechanical latches that connects to the Falcon 9's second stage. After the main engine cutoff of the first stage, high pressure helium is used to release these latches, ensuring a smooth separation through pneumatic pushers. Now below the interstage, we got our first stage, that's also referred to as the booster. The booster makes up the bottom two-thirds of the vehicle, which is mainly aluminum lithium alloy tanks containing liquid oxygen and rocket grade kerosene RP1 propellant, and it got 9 Merlin 1D engines at its base. On the top right of your screen is the Merlin 1D engine, and below that is the Merlin vacuum engine or the MVAC engine. Falcon 9 generates more than 1.7 million pounds of thrust at sea level. Those engines do the bulk of the work to get Falcon 9 off the ground from the Launchpad into the thinner part of Earth's atmosphere. The 9 Merlin engines on the first stage are gradually throttled near the end of first stage flight to limit launch vehicle acceleration as the rocket's mass decreases with the burning of fuel. These engines are also used to reorient the first stage prior to re-entry and to decelerate the vehicle for the landing. Now at the very bottom we got our landing legs placed symmetrically around the base of Falcon 9. First stage are the 4 landing legs made of carbon fiber with aluminum honeycomb. They are stored at the base of the vehicle and deployed just prior to landing. Now let's unpack some key features and milestones of this incredible spacecraft in a pictorial form. Here is a quick overview of Falcon 9. We got the fairing at the very top of the stone. Below that we have our second stage. Just below that we have our interstage, which connects the second stage with the first stage. Also it contains the stage separation center pushers and Merlin MVAC engine vacuum nozzles. Below the interstage we have our first stage, also referred to as booster, and at the very bottom we have our landing legs and 9 Merlin 1D engine. About 2.5 minutes into the flight, the stages will separate. The first stage will make its way back to Earth and it will be attempting a drone ship landing. To plan, the Falcon 9's first stage will come back to Earth for the 47th time this year, landing about 8.5 minutes after its launch on the drone ship Of Course I Still Love You, which will be stationed in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of California. The Falcon 9's upper stage meanwhile will continue to haul the 20 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit. The spacecraft are set to be deployed there just after 61 minutes after liftoff. SpaceX is currently targeting a liftoff of Falcon 9 from Vandenberg at 2:39 p.m. Eastern Time, which will be 11:39 a.m. Pacific Time and 6:39 p.m. UTC. For all our friends joining around the globe, upon checking, SpaceX is still on time. So let's move ahead and look into the payload details of today's mission. This launch marks the 35th dedicated Starlink launch for this year. First launch of Starlink version 2 mini satellite took place on February 27, 2023. Here is a fun fact for you: at the very inception, the two identical test satellites called Microsat 2A and Microsat 2B during development, but were renamed Tintin A and Tintin B upon orbital deployment, were launched back on February 22nd, 2018. So Tintin A and Tintin B are the first two Starlink satellites to be launched ever. Starlink satellites are built at SpaceX Satellite Development Facility in Redmond, Washington. Today's launch consists of 20 version 2 mini satellites, including 13 with direct-to-cell capabilities, same as we saw in previous Starlink 8-2 mission flight. The version 2 variant of Starlink is too large to fit inside a Falcon 9 fairing and is meant to be launched by Starship. So for that, SpaceX indicated that they would build satellites of second generation constellation in two different but technically identical form factors, one with the physical structure tailored to be launching on Falcon 9, that is version 2 mini, and one tailored for the launching of Starship, that is version 2. Each Starlink satellite is equipped with 4 powerful phased array antenna and 2 parabolic antennas to provide increased capacity. These phased array antennas utilize Ku, Ka and E band frequencies, allowing Starlink to provide 4 times more capacity per satellite than earlier versions. Each satellite features a single solar array with a size of 52.5 square meters, which unfurls to a wingspan of 100 feet. Some units of Starlink satellites have laser transponders for intercommunication and optical inter-satellite links or ISLs, enabling the spacecraft to transmit data without local ground stations, providing truly global coverage. Each Starlink version 2 mini satellite weighs nearly 800 kilograms, that is 1,763 pounds. Also, they have efficient ion Hall effect thrusters powered by argon, enabling Starlink satellites to orbit, raise, maneuver in space, and deorbit at the end of their useful life. Starlink is the first Krypton-propelled spacecraft ever flown. But later, SpaceX switched to argon Hall effect thrusters. Relative to Krypton, the argon required to fuel Starlink version 2 satellites will be practically free. To put it into perspective, fueling its next constellation of almost 30,000 version 2 satellites could cost SpaceX less than fueling 4,000 version 1 satellites, which were based on Krypton. Also, SpaceX claims that its second generation thrusters using argon has 2.4 times the thrust and 1.5 times the specific impulse of the previously Krypton-fueled thrusters. Today's payload will be placed in an orbit with an altitude of 535 kilometers above Earth surface and an inclination of 53 degrees. But here I want to make one thing clear. This configuration does not apply to every Starlink satellite. Starlink satellites are placed in different configurations based on their group. For Group 5 and Group 6, the nominal altitude is 530 km with an inclination of 43 degrees. For Group 7, the nominal altitude is 525 km with an inclination of 53 degrees. And for Group 8, the nominal altitude is 535 kilometers with an inclination of 53 degrees, which is the case of today. Moreover, Starlink's satellite uses custom-built navigation sensors named Star Tracker that surveys the stars to determine each satellite's location, altitude, and orientation for best possible broadband throughput. Now, while speaking of SpaceX direct-to-cell Starlink satellites, direct-to-cell is a technology developed by SpaceX Starlink team. In easy words, it's like having a cell phone tower in space. This technology allows your cell phone to connect directly to satellites. Imagine you are in a remote area where there is no cell towers nearby. Normally, you would not get any signal on your phone, right? But with direct to cell, your phone can get a signal directly from a Starlink satellite overhead. You do not need to make any changes to your existing LTE phone or download any special apps. It is designed to work with common LTE standards, whether you are on land, lakes, or coastal waters. As long as you can see the sky, you can get a signal. It provides connectivity in remote regions, giving you peace of mind when you need it the most. Now coming to the History of the booster supporting today's mission. The booster with tail number 1063 is quite a mature first stage booster with 17 previous flights in its record, including missions like Sentinel-6, DART, Transporter-7, Iridium-1 Web, SDA-0B, and 12 Starlink missions. Now it's awaiting its 18th flight, just minutes away. Now let's have a look at the bar graph of Falcon 9 yearly launches. Before today's launch, SpaceX reached the milestone of reaching just one more of Falcon 9 launches made in previous year, that is 49 launches, with previous Starlink 6-58 mission launch, surpassing the total number of Falcon 9 launches made in all the previous years up to the year 2021, and now approaching the number of launches made in year 2022. Now with today's launch, the bar graph depicts 50 Falcon 9 launches so far this year. SpaceX has reached halfway to the number of launches made last year just within 4 months and 14 days of this year. At this rate, SpaceX is projected to achieve between 140 to 148 total overall launches this year alone. It is clear that SpaceX is moving quite determined and steadily towards their ambitious goal. As we move through our anticipated schedule of events, we would want to extend our thanks to all of you who are watching live. We are truly value your patience. If you haven't already, please consider giving this video a like so that it will help YouTube's algorithm do its job, allowing more space enthusiasts and rocket chasers to discover this live launch coverage. Moreover, if you choose to subscribe, we are overwhelmingly grateful to you for supporting us. Also, we appreciate a fantastic YouTube channel community that's with us today. Truly thankful for each and every one of you who are here with us on this live stream. Your presence keeps us going. Thank you everyone. Let's go ahead as we progress through the countdown and review the milestones that lie ahead of us. At T-38 minutes, countdown begins at this point when SpaceX launch director gives the go for the start of propellant load. If everything looks fine, prop load begins at T-30 minutes mark with the loading of rocket grade kerosene or RP1 on both the first stage and the second stages of the Falcon 9 rocket. At the same time, LOX load, that is super chilled liquid oxygen, is loaded on board the first stage. And then at T minus 16 minutes, which will be the next event that we are looking out here, that's when the second stage liquid LOX load begins. And at T minus 7 minutes, that's when the chill down of 9 Merlin engines get underway. It involves flowing a small amount of liquid oxygen through the plumbing and turbo pumps, which helps protect the engines from the risk of thermal shocks and damages during the startup sequence. At about 6 minutes before liftoff, the first stage kerosene tank should be full. In a T minus 4.5 minute, the strong back retract sequence begins. The process begins with the clamp arms underneath the payload fairings opening up, followed by the transport ejector or the strong back reclining about 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9. It remains in that position until liftoff. It's when it rapidly pulls back to clear the way for Falcon 9's rocket's vertical ascent. So the strong back positioned along the vehicle, also referred as transport ejector, fulfills multiple functions. It supplies propellant, provides air conditioning, pressurization gases, and electrical power. Additionally, it transports the Falcon 9 to the launch pad and positions it for the launch. At T minus 3 minutes mark, the first stage liquid oxygen loading should be complete, followed by second stage liquid oxygen loading wrapping up at T minus 2 minute mark. At that point, the Falcon 9 rocket is fully fueled with 1 million pounds of propellant. At T minus 1 minute mark, the propellant tanks are brought up to flight pressure. In the final 60 seconds countdown, the control of the flight system, that is launch sequence, is handed over from the ground sequencer to the Falcon 9's onboard flight computers. If everything looks good at T minus 45 seconds mark, the launch director will give the final go for Falcon 9 liftoff. Now at T minus 3 seconds, the engine ignition will start. The start command being issued by onboard engine controller. Finally, T0, we have liftoff. If all 9 Merlin 1D engines ignite and are healthy, flight computers will give the command for hold down clamps to release the Falcon 9. Currently targeting a liftoff time of Falcon 9 from Vandenberg at 2:39 p.m. Eastern Time, which will be 11:39 a.m. Pacific Time and 6:39 p.m. UTC. Just allow us some couple of seconds to check whether the launch is on time or not. So far the launch time is on time. As I said, it will be on at 2:39 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:39 a.m. Pacific Time and 6:39 p.m. UTC. Let's go ahead and briefly step through the trajectory for today's mission. With the spacecraft on board, the batch of 20 Starlink satellites, 13 with direct-to-cell capability Starlink satellites as well. Falcon 9 will lift off from Space Launch Complex 4 East from Vandenberg Space Force Base in a southeast trajectory along the coast of Southern California, heading into a low Earth orbit. That is, to the sixth shell of Starlink constellation, indicated by that green line on your screen. The red line you see indicates where Falcon 9 first stage will land after stage separation, just a little later leaving California's coast. This is going to be a off the land landing, a drone ship landing using autonomous spaceport drone ship named, of course, I Still Love You, here on the west coast, which means that the first stage booster with tail number 1063 flying for the 18th time today will be returning heading out to the drone ship. Currently, there are 3 in SpaceX drone ship fleet. We anticipate the addition of a 4th drone ship, possibly occurring late this year or in early next year. Out of 3 just reached the instructions and a shortfall of gravitas are based in Florida, and another, of course, I Still Love You, here at California. Replying to confession at 3 a.m. Yes, indeed. Actually, SpaceX wants to remove any dead zones. For that, they are striving so hard, and the direct cell capabilities are a huge contributor to this tech, to this removal of dead zones, so that everyone and anywhere can get a signal as long as they can see a sky. Now, just for a quick knowledge, what happens when the booster needs to execute a land landing but lacks sufficient propellant margin? In case of RTLS, that is return to launch site operation, as we recently saw in Vandenberg launch of Maxar 1 mission, the rocket lands at a predetermined landing site, which are SpaceX landing zones, using only its propulsion system. When propellant margins do not permit a RTLS landing, rockets return to a floating landing platform in the ocean, that is a drone ship. So that's a preventive measure taken every time for an RTLS operation. Here is a video of a fairing half as it re-enters the Earth atmosphere, creating a halo around it. The two halves of the payload fairing will be recovered slightly farther downrange from where the first stage lands on the drone ship today, after they will smoothly splash down with the guidance of parachutes. SpaceX will utilize a recovery vessel to retrieve them from the specific water. Probably today it's a today the ship is go beyond to recover the payload fairings. SpaceX manufactures the fairings in-house with the total cost of two halves is nearly $6 million. No wonder the SpaceX aims to recover the fairing for repetitive use, mirroring their approach with rocket boosters, upholding the motto of reusability. Let's have a quick look through the launch timeline for the Falcon 9 rocket passing these events following liftoff. At t plus 1 minute and 7 seconds, Falcon 9 will pass through max Q, which is a point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. Then there will be a few different milestones in rapid succession. First will be at t plus 2 minutes and 25 5 seconds, that is the first stage main engine cutoff, MECO, followed by a major milestone within 4 seconds at t plus 2 minutes and 29 seconds, where first and second stage separation will occur. Again just after 7 seconds later at t plus 2 minutes and 36 seconds, second stage embark engine starts, that is SES1. Coming up next at t plus 3 minutes and 2 second mark, Falcon 9's payload fairings will be jettisoned. At t plus 6 minutes and 4 seconds, the first stage entry burn will begin, lasting for 25 seconds up to 6 minutes and 29 seconds mark, ending the entry burn. At this time around, we will hear the callouts for stage 1 and stage 2 flight termination systems being saved. We will also hear the callouts for stage 1 being transonic and stage 2 being in terminal guidance. Next major milestone at t plus 7 minutes and 59 seconds, the first stage landing burn will begin, which will orient and set up the first stage for SpaceX iconic precision landing. At t plus 8 minutes and 21 seconds, first stage will land on Of Course I Still Love You drone ship, marking the 308th landing to date. Now at t plus 8 minutes and 37 seconds, the second stage embark engine will cut off, that is SECO1, and enter into a parking orbit. T plus 52 minutes and 11 seconds, the second stage embark engine will reignite for a brief 2-second burn, that is SES2. Second stage engine start, and turning it off at t plus 52 minutes and 13 seconds, that is SECO2, second stage engine cutoff, which will set up Starlink's satellite deployment at around t plus 1 hour and 1 minute. Here is the pictorial form of the overall flight of today's mission, starting from launch to landing. As it launches, it ascends. After stage separation, the first stage will have a flip maneuver. After that, it will have its hypersonic grid fins to be being deployed to reorient itself towards the landing site. After that, it will pass through entry burn as it enters the Earth's atmosphere, and having a aerodynamic guidance, it will vertically land on the autonomous spaceport drone ship. For today, it is Of Course I Still Love You drone ship, marking its 90th landing to date. Meanwhile, the second stage will continue to its low Earth orbit, having its fairing separation, and finally of the payload separation. Here is a short time-lapse video of onboard view of Falcon 9 first stage from liftoff to a land landing. As we lift off passing through Max Q, we will see the stage separation. After the vehicle rising towards the apogee, now we got the stage separation. Now here we see the vehicle rising towards the apogee, then deploying the hypersonic grid fins to orient the first stage for landing. You can see intermittent nitrogen gas burst for altitude control. Now we will have a entry burn while entering back into the Earth's atmosphere, and finally the landing burn where the landing legs being deployed and a sweet nice landing. Now coming to some stats related to today's mission. Today's launch marks 345th SpaceX overall launch and 35th dedicated launch of Starlink satellites for this year. This is the 334th Falcon 9 launch to date. This will be the 18th flight of this particular booster with tail number 1063. It is the 50th Falcon 9 launch of this year and is SpaceX's 51st launch of 2024, including Starship third integrated flight test back in Texas. This is SpaceX's 279th Falcon booster flight to date, the launch of a booster that has flown at least once before. This launch marks 76th orbital launch for SpaceX launching from Pad 4E. This is the 143rd overall orbital launch from this pad. And get this, with this mission, SpaceX will have now a whopping 6,436 Starlink satellite launch to date. That's pretty incredible. Now heading to some reusability statistics. This will be the 90th landing on Of Course I Still Love You drone ship. The 18th landing of first stage booster with tail number 1063. This launch marks 265th Falcon 9 booster reflight to date. With this mission's landing, it paves the way to 240th overall drone ship landing, 291st Falcon 9 landing, and 308th SpaceX overall booster landing to date. Here is a thing worth mentioning. Among the drone ships, a shortfall of Gravitas has a flawless record with 0 unsuccessful landing attempts. In comparison, Just Read the Instruction has encountered 3 unsuccessful landings, while Of Course I Still Love You has experienced 7. This makes a shortfall of Gravitas the leader in successful and clean drone ship landings attempt. Allow us to check whether the launch time is on time or not. Yes, so far the launch time is on time, that is 11:39 a.m. Pacific time, which will be 2:39 p.m. Eastern time and 6:39 p.m. UTC. Now let's break down some key stats for SpaceX launches in this year, including today's mission. So SpaceX has a total of 51 launches, and out of those 15 were non-Starlink missions. They have reused boosters for 48 times, showing their commitment to reusability and sustainability. Now let's talk geographically. They have 34 launches from East Coast, with 11 from Launch Complex 39A, that is from Kennedy Space Center, and 23 from Space Launch Complex 40, that is from Cape Canaveral. On the West Coast, 16 launches, all from Space Launch Complex 4E, that is from Vandenberg Space Force Base, including today's launch. Plus, there was one launch from Gulf Coast at Starbase for Starship third integrated flight test. As for landings, they have nailed it 49 times. Most of them were on drone ships, with 37 successful landings, 13 on Of Course I Still Love You, including one from today, 10 on Just Read the Instructions, and 14 on A Shortfall of Gravitas. And for ground landings, they have pulled off 12 times, with 8 on landing zone 1, only 1 landing on landing zone 2, and 3 on landing zone 4 respectively. Moving on to orbital launches so far this year, including today's launch, the United States is dominating with 58 orbital launches, comprising a substantial 62.4% of the global total. China follows closely behind, accounting for 23.7% with 22 launches, while Russia maintains a steady pace with 6 launches, and Japan has 3 launches thus far. There is an upcoming Russia launch. It will be a Soyuz 2.1B, and I guess it will be a military payload. So for that we are not having any details till now. Now both India and Iran have entered the fray with 2 launches each. It's a tight competition, but USA and China are clearly leading the charge in this year's space exploration efforts. So now we got this pie chart showing orbital launches in 2024 by rocket variations, including today's launch. Well, let me break down it for you. The big green slice of that pie, that's the Falcon 9 rocket. It's a real heavy hitter with 49 launches, including today's mission, making up more than half of the whole pie at 53.8%, leading the pack. Then we got this purple slice labeled others, which is a mix of different rockets, including Vulcan Centaur, Gravity 1, Kairos, Starship, Delta IV Heavy, Angara A5 and others. They have got 25 launches in total, which is 27.5% of the pie. That's not bad. Next up, we got the Electron and Soyuz 2 rockets. Both are holding their own with 5 launches each, which is 5.5% of the pie. Last but not the least, we got China's CZ-2D and CZ-2C rockets. The CZ-2D has 4 launches, which makes 4.4% of the pie, and the CZ-2C has 3 launches so far with 3.3% of the pie. There might be smaller slices of the pie, but every launch counts. Now before we move ahead to our webcast, I would like to correct myself. I didn't mention this while I was describing these stats. These stats are being without considering today's launch. So as I said before, among the drone ships, a shortfall of Gravitas has a flawless record with 0 unsuccessful landing attempts. In comparison, Just Read the Instruction has encountered 3 unsuccessful landings, while Of Course I Still Love You has experienced 7. A shortfall of Gravitas has 69 successful landings to date. Just Read the Instruction has 81 successful landings to date, and Of Course I Still Love You has 89 successful landing to date. Now the upcoming 98th landing on Of Course I Still Love You.
Tanks are pressurizing for strong back retract.
And you have heard the call out with pressurizing the tanks. We are putting a little bit of gas which kind of stiffens the tanks up, that will where the clamp arms open up with a nice rigid structure for Falcon 9 underneath them. Now once these arms are open, we will begin to recline the strong back 13 degrees away from Falcon 9, and the process it will take a moment.
Strong back retract has started.
We have heard the call out. The process is now underway, and you can see the clamp arms around the stage 2 are coming to open. You are seeing the clamp arms opening up here underneath the payload fairing, the transport erector reclining 13 degrees away from the vehicle. Now less than 4 minutes away from liftoff. Coming up on T minus 3 minutes mark, everything continues to be go. We are currently chilling in the Merlin engines back from T minus 7 minutes when we open up the P-valves, which allows the propellant down the engine to get them prepared for the ignition just before T0. You can see the strong back is now retracting away. It is a slow process. We have hydraulic actuators at the base of the strong back that will pull it away. We do it slowly because you might be able to see we still have these lines that are carrying liquid oxygen to the second stage, as well as the electrical signals and the air conditioning up there in the payload fairing. We need to make sure that all of these
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
Easily stretch out and all mechanisms works good. We got the call out for stage 1 LOX load complete right on time. We are now awaiting for stage 2 that will finish up just inside T minus 2 minute mark. The strong back here at Vandenberg is a bit different style from Cape Canaveral and Kennedy Space Center. There we recline only a couple of degrees, but here at Vandenberg we decline 77 degrees and then pull away out at liftoff. Again, if for some reasons we do not launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow, that is Wednesday, May 15, with launch window opening at 12:06 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be listening in couple of seconds for LOX load goes out for second stage.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
And to the call out our countdown, stage 2 LOX load is complete. All propellants are now on board the Falcon 9 with 1 million pounds of propellant. We are now beginning to vent down the pressure that was in the tubing on the strong back. That's why you can see the clouds coming out too. We got the call out for ground gas closeout. That's where we bleed the pressure off, and that cold gas, when it reacts with the moist humid air of Pacific Ocean, gives you that nice white cloud, an indicator of launch upcoming. Next event, T minus 1 minute, we should hear the call out. The Falcon 9 flight computers are in startup and controlling the rocket for remainder of countdown.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Right on time, Falcon 9 flight computers on stage 1 and stage 2 are running the rocket through the last minute of count. Now let's listen to the go callouts.
LD is go for launch.
SpaceX launch director giving go for the launch. We are coming up on T minus 30 seconds. All system continues to remain go.
T minus 30 seconds. T minus 15 seconds. T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff Falcon 9. Go Starlink. Go SpaceX. Vehicle is pitching downrange. Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Here it goes. We have liftoff. Falcon 9 has cleared the tower. Nice views of Falcon 9 throttling up. T plus 30 seconds into flight. Falcon 9 on its way with 20 Starlink satellites into low Earth orbit.
Power and telemetry nominal.
Good and healthy callouts there. Power telemetry nominal. Propulsion is nominal. We are into the throttle bucket. We are throttling down the 9 Merlin engines as we prepare for the period of max Q at the maximum dynamic stress coming up.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
Now Falcon 9 is faster than a speeding bullet.
Max Q.
We got the max Q call out. We are through the period of maximum stress on the vehicle. We have throttled the 9 Merlin engines back up to full power. Now we will be getting a call out for MVAC engine chill down.
Chill has started.
Right now we have started to chill down the MVAC engine on the second stage prior to its ignition just after stage separation. Coming up 3 events in rapid succession. The shutdown of main engine on first stage, that is main engine cutoff MECO, followed by stage separation where the first stage pushes itself from second stage, and followed by ignition of second stage MVAC engine that will push the payload into low Earth orbit. Let's hear the callouts.
Main engine cut off.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
We got all the 3 rapid succession callouts. MECO, followed by stage separation and MVAC ignition of the second stage. The stage nitrogen thrusters is now beginning to reorient the first stage, and the flight computers has commanded the 4 hypersonic titanium grid fins to slowly begin deploying now that the
stages are on nominal trajectories.
Now the stage separation is successful.
Fairing separation confirmed.
We got call out that the fairing has successfully separated. You are looking right now a view of first stage continues under the power of 3 Merlin engines. It will continue to rise towards apogee before descending back down towards the landing on drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You, stationed in Pacific Ocean. Second stage, meanwhile, in the middle of its 6-minute burn, is on its way into the parking orbit. We got a call out for nominal trajectories. Sooner we are expecting to have callouts for stage 1 FTS being saved. Also for stage 2 FTS being saved. So right now we had a great launch. First stage has done its job so far. It's on its way back. Second stage is running at full power. We are getting great views from space. We are getting ready now for first stage to come back on drone ship landing site. During this portion of flight, stage 1 is using nothing but the grid fins for steering as it re-enters to Earth's atmosphere, and these grid fins orient the Falcon 9 during re-entry, and they help Falcon 9 first stage to guide during its descent. Now currently we are seeing a view of second stage, but occasionally you will see on the first stage nitrogen gas bursts for altitude control on the left side of your screen, and these are basically used to position the vehicle as it heads back towards the drone ship. We would like to welcome Poptritika, Simon Haga. Hello. Thank you, Poptritika, for joining us back again.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there's confirmation. We have just lit 3 of the Merlin 1D engines on the first stage. You can see now we are rapidly slowing down the vehicle as it enters the Earth's atmosphere, and this burn should last just around 25 seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And there we go. That's confirmation of shutdown of the entry burn on the first stage. Falcon 9 first stage is equipped with 4 landing legs, and
Stage 1 trajectory nominal.
those are made out of state-of-art carbon fiber with aluminum
Stage
honeycomb.
1 FTS has saved.
We got callouts for stage 1 FTS being saved. We got callouts for good trajectories for both the vehicles. Now these landing legs are placed symmetrically around the base of the rocket, and they will be deployed just prior to landing. Replying to Poptritika, max Q is an event at which the vehicle
Stage 2 FTS has saved.
the vehicle gets through the maximum stress
Stage 1 transonic.
on it, and at that time all the Merlin engines are on full power. And this max Q, it's not just only for SpaceX launches, it happens for every rocket launches. We got callouts for FTS
Stage 2 terminal guidance.
being saved for stage 2.
1 landing burn.
Now there we go. We got the callouts for stage 1 landing burn. You can see the center E9 engine has now lit. We are slowing down the vehicle down very rapidly. Should be seeing those
Stage 1
landing
landing
legs
leg deploy.
being deployed, and there we have it. We have successfully made 308 landings
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
of an orbital class rocket. We would like to welcome Franklin Sierra. Thanks for joining us. Coming up next, we will have the second stage engine cutoff or SECO-1, and following that we will enter into just about a 43-minute post phase as the vehicle ascends to its target orbit.
Nominal parking orbit.
And there is the call out we were waiting for. Second stage engine cutoff SECO-1 as well as the confirmation of the good orbit. Today's landing marks 308 overall landing of an orbital class rocket. With that, we will wrap up our coverage for now. Be sure to check out the social media for confirmation of Starlink deployment. Thank you so much for watching, showing your such patience, love and understanding, staying till the very end. We are glad to have you all here with us. We would extend our special thanks to Poptritika, Franklin Sierra, Simon Haga, Confession at 3 a.m. and everyone who joined us live today. So we will see you next time. Have a nice day ahead. Thanks for joining us today.